Hey, free timers. There are so many tips and tricks out there for how to spend your money. In this episode, I've condensed them all into just 10 spending principles that will help you find time freedom faster. Make sure to stay tuned until number 9, because it alone could literally save you $1 million over your lifetime. From happiness to taxes to inflation, we're covering it all. Let's get on with the show. Welcome back to the Time Freedom Podcast, where you can learn how to rethink your work and your money to create a life you love right now. Join us for insights to help you find meaningful freedom so you can choose how and when and with whom you work for as long as you want. Here are your hosts, me, Brian Harriott, and Kirby Dennison. All right. Hello and welcome to episode 12 of the Time Freedom Podcast. Today we are going to talk about everything spending. So the spending side of the equation, the lifestyle expenses side of the equation. There are books and books and books written about hundreds of millions of different tactics that you can use to spend better and get more value for your money. Well, we have condensed it all down into 10 that you will want to learn and abide by. And if you do, you'll be on your way to time freedom. But before we get into that, let's introduce each other. I'll start by introducing my co-host and the wonderful Kirby Dennison. She is the owner of Kirby & Co., and they provide virtual assistants and fractional COO and coaching services. So definitely check her out. The website is what? kirbyandco.com.
Correct.
Right?
Good job.
KirbyANNCO.com. And she's also a wonderful wife and mother and takes care of a lot of stuff. Let me get that.
Yes, thank you, Brian. And Brian obviously is the author of Time Freedom coming soon. Brian, I'm mostly excited to hear, how was your weekend? And tell me, I know you did something fun.
Yes, so we're recording this midweek. What is it? Thursday, the 16th, based on when this goes out. But this past weekend, my wife and I joined another couple, and we spent 3 days in Yosemite National Park, which was really wonderful experience. Like, we got so lucky with the weather. It was I'd say it was 65 and sunny. Both of the days that we did big hikes. The day we left, they were warning everyone to get out because the snow was going to start falling. So we couldn't have planned it any better. The first day we did just a kind of a height to acclimate ourselves to being at 6,000 feet. And we did great. I was feeling positive, and that's a good thing I was feeling that way, because the next day we did, I think it's called 4 Mile hike, and it starts in the valley. And you basically go through switchbacks up and up and up, like I think more than 3,000 feet. And you end up at the top of this place called Glacier Point, where you have views of Half Dome, like at the level of Half Dome. And it was so cool. And then also, a lot of people, if you're not a hiker, know, like, what's even harder than going up is going down. And no, we had our trekking poles and things like that, but we made it down. Our knees only kind of twitched a couple of times each. We've been on previous hikes where you're like walking down backwards and stuff, but it went really well. And I mean, the couple we went with there, they were 15 years older than Claire and I, but they were fine. Claire and I made it. We made it, and we got we were hiking from about 8:30 in the morning until 5 at night, going up and down.
Oh my gosh.
But it was so great. Although I'll tell you, when we sat down on our couch that night at the Airbnb, it was a pretty nice feeling.
Yes, I will say that I have been experiencing that shift in altitude. Usually where I live in Yuma, it's like 5,000 feet probably above sea level anyway. However, going to California, and I've been like running there while I'm there. And then actually currently I'm in Salida, where my husband's from. And it's like 7,500 feet probably, maybe higher than that. So going literally from sea level to here, I have been dying. Like, I tried to run this morning and I was like, I cannot do it.
Well, I can't believe you live at 5,000 feet, because I was already feeling the dryness and like all that comes with that. We need to get back down to sea level.
Yes. Like, that's the first thing I noticed too, is like the dryness in my hands, the dryness, like just of my skin. As soon as I land in Denver, I'm like, oh yeah, I need to go back to the sea level.
So you're not at home right now then? What are you
No,
up
nope,
to?
I'm actually, in Salida. My husband's hunting this week, so I landed on Tuesday or Monday, I guess. I don't even know what day it is. Landed Monday, came straight here, and actually got in a little earlier. I was supposed to land at midnight, and I switched my flight earlier to surprise the family.
Oh,
So
nice.
I'm in a different background, and I was cracking up just before we started recording. Went and got filled my water and stuff, came back. My mother-in-law's works for the sheriff's office. There's a straitjacket in a picture frame right outside my window. So I guess in case I go crazy.
It just reminded me of something that I'm gonna say for our next episode of some crazy show that I'm watching now that's kind of weird. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. So we have some updates on the book and kind of some of the marketing and stuff that's happening. Let me just say it really quickly because I think we'll want to start pointing people to this new website that is now launched. It's timefreedom.life. And the main page is all about the book. You can actually click through to read the introduction right from it. But also, and even better, you can also see like the page dedicated to my speaking. If you want to hire me to speak, certainly you can contact me through that. And also, we have a page dedicated to the podcast. But if you're on the site for 10 seconds or whatever, it pops up a way to join the Time Freedom Insiders Club. And what that allows you to do is get an additional behind the scenes information about all things going on right now, like how I recently reached out to a former child actor and other developments that are happening on this journey. But also I'm reading the book in its entirety, one episode a piece. So it's called a secret podcast. And if you sign up for the Insiders Club, you get access to that. And I'm currently read through chapter 3. So definitely check it out and, join this train. It's going to be fun over the next year, as we continue to do fun things before the book comes out.
Yes. And I think, the behind the scenes piece is so exciting. We're getting ready to ramp up so many things, and that's going to be a fun place to share. And then also, you can catch Brian reading the chapters live on Wednesdays at noon Pacific, both on Facebook and LinkedIn. It's noon, right?
It's 12:30 Pacific, and it's
12:30.
hopefully also on YouTube. We're trying to figure that one out. But if you get one, great. But if you want to see the previous ones because they disappear because they're live, that's why you want to join that Insiders Club so that you can get them all. And also just listen to them at your leisure in your own podcast player. It's a pretty cool feature.
Yes.
All right, so we should probably get into the gist of the show now. And so I'll tease this as, there's 10 real spending strategies that you want to follow. And each of these, we're trying to, I kind of am starting them like from maybe some more of the kind of philosophical ones. And then we have some tactical ones and practical ones. And then at the end, we have some that'll really save you a lot of money. And so, kind of listen through all the way to get us all the way there. So shall we start with the first one? And these are outlined in chapter 7 of my book. The first spending principle, we'll call these 10 spending principles, is to understand how money impacts your happiness. All right. Now, if you've read in this space, actually, the research has actually changed in this. There's old research that says, once you make a certain amount, you can't get any happier. And if you start spending, gobs of money, it's not going to change anything. That's actually been updated recently. I did a lot of research on this for the book. There's some recent research. I don't have it in front of me, but I think it's out within the last 5 or 6 years where they tried to revalidate some of that research. And it actually shows that, of course, if you have like no money to spend, you're not going to be very happy. And as you move your way up to, in the like $100,000, $200,000 range, you make massive improvements in how happy your life can be. However, after that, if you spend more, you actually you can be happier, but it is a much more gradual increase, right? So of course, the more you spend, potentially the happier that you'll be, but it's definitely the most important at the lower end of the spectrum. And I actually wanted to add another thing, and this, I don't write about this, but I just got Morgan Housel's new book, The Art of Spending Money. And literally on the first page of the introduction, he has a discussion about spending and happiness. So I thought that I wanted to just read this because it's kind of interesting. He says, there's an old saying that nothing's worse than getting what you want, but not what you need, right? This sums up so many people's relationship with money and success. So getting what you want and not what you need is like getting that promotion, but then realizing that you're working 70 hours a week and you don't have time for anything else. So you get what you
Mhm.
think you want, but not actually, not actually what you need. It's important with money as well. If you're lucky enough to get what you want, which is money, you might still realize it's not what you need, which is family, friends, health, being part of something bigger than yourself. And then you're disappointed. So the thing is, like, money is money for money's sake, but it's
Mhm.
how you use the money that can make you happier.
Mhm. Yeah, I think well, I mean, it's gonna lead into the next few, so I don't wanna get too far ahead of us. But I what's the saying? You can't buy happiness or something like that.
Money can't buy happiness.
Yeah, it kinda goes in that realm
Yeah,
to an
but
extent.
again, like if you unfortunately just have not much money, like I think money can buy some happiness if it can buy you,
Some.
some some food and some things like that. It's just that I think what that phrase is more like at the higher end, it's like
Mhm.
once you've got enough money and you're comfortable, it's kind of true. You have to get
Mhm.
real strategic on what you're spending money on so that it's focusing on those things that Morgan Housel talks about in his book.
Mhm.
All right,
Yeah.
so let's leading into the next one. This is related. And the second spending principle is that you should look to value experiences over things. Again, this I tell us a story in the book about how well when you buy something, it kind of leads to that initial dopamine hit, like, oh, cool, I got
Mhm.
this thing. But then no matter what it is that you buy, immediately upon buying it, it's not new anymore. And so you start to like either second guess or just its newness kind of, wears off. Whereas experiences are almost like the opposite, right? So there's the anticipation of the experience, then there's the experience. And then after the experience, especially now, that we take so many pictures of these things, you almost get to like relive that experience in your mind and visually. And a lot of the negative parts of that trip, the book story is when my wife and my son and I did one of those camper van rentals and drove around Yellowstone and the Grand Tetons. We were in tight quarters and we did some cool stuff, but we were in tight quarters and there was some
Mhm.
yelling. And I've mostly forgot about that stuff and just remembered this, the really cool nature and all the other stuff that we saw. The experience when we were going to set up our tent and Claire goes, "Oh, those look just like the carpenter ants that bit me last summer." And our son's like, "I'm not getting out at all. Like we're not even getting out." That's actually funny now. It was a little difficult to deal with at the time, but it's kind of a funny story now. I don't know if you
Those
have any
pain
thoughts on
points, like
experiences. Yeah.
yes, yeah, definitely. We've actually kind of switched from this philosophy a little bit, like, even at Christmas, for small children, like, the amount of toys that they have, and they will play with it for 5 minutes and then get that dopamine hit, and then it's, like, in a box forever, and so we've actually switched to that, like, doing experiences. So, for example, for Aubrey's birthday, we're actually gonna go to the aquarium here in just a couple weeks, and you can
Cool.
eat breakfast with mermaids.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome.
they, like yeah, they have, like you can meet the mermaids, and then they swim around, and I'm like, "How much more exciting is that than buying a mermaid toy?" Like, she'll remember that for ages.
Forever. Yep. Same kind of thing with us going to England for Theo this summer. Like I hope
Mhm,
that trip, sticks forever. I mean, it costs some
mhm.
money, but it's not, just that thing.
Yeah.
So let me go to the next one. The next one is number 3 is to spend in step with your life stage. The story I have about this is I can remember, and maybe this will apply to you a little bit because you have younger kids, but we used to have friends that would go on all these extravagant trips. I mean, we grew up in pretty, middle America, middle
Mhm,
economic America as well. But like we did know some people that had a lot more money and they would travel all over Europe and they used to complain because their kid would just eat spaghetti in every restaurant. And I'm like, well, they're not old enough to appreciate it. Whereas what we did as a family, maybe because we didn't have enough money to go to Disney World each year, but we would just go an hour and a half away to the local big city and we would stay in the Stevens Point Holodome. That's where we
mhm,
stayed. And it was this place where in the dead of winter, you could have a really warm pool experience, sauna. I can remember going there even in like junior high because I remember there was some cute girl that I thought I would like, meet. Well, trust me, it didn't work out. Like, that was super fun. And I bet it was a lot less expensive for my
mhm.
parents than, some of this other extravagant spending.
I think that those I don't know, we do the very similar actually, when you said that, I was laughing because we go to it's 2 hours away, and to Shields, if anyone's familiar with that, it's like a big sporting goods store,
Oh,
and they have a hotel right next to them that has a slide, and so that's always the big thing. We go to the hotel, we get the room with the bunk beds, because why we
that's what
need
they
bunk beds,
want.
I don't know, that's what they
Yeah.
want,
Yep.
and I mean, it's fun, and you can do more of those little things than going on some of those bigger trips, so you can do more throughout the year than rather than just one big trip for the year. So we've been doing that about once a quarter, actually, we
That's
go and
awesome.
or go stay somewhere, like an Airbnb or something.
When we were kids, we did go to Disney World once, I think just once. And I remember waiting in line for Space Mountain for like hours.
Yes.
I don't even know if that exists anymore. But like, I think more about those dumb little Stevens Point trips
Mhm.
that we used to take than that whole
Yeah.
experience in Space Mountain.
Yeah, I totally agree.
All right. So the next one is more like tactical and practical or whatever you want to call it, but it's around taxes. And, again, there's hundreds and thousands of books written on taxes. And I guess my theory on
Mhm.
taxes is that you should pay them, but only pay what you need to pay. So in other words, understand where there are tax savings and use them where possible. And in this conversation could go a million different ways, but coming back to time freedom, I believe there are two main tax strategic ways that you can, handle reducing what you pay. And that is because so much of what we talk about in time freedom is with starting your own business. Starting a business is promoted at least in the United States tax system. And so there are a lot of ways to reduce your overall taxes by, expensing business purchases,
Mhm.
etc. That's a huge thing. And you should look, get a good, we're not CPAs here, but look to get a good CPA and help advise you on how to take advantage of all that, because that's one. And then the other one is a lot of people that I work with and that will probably be readers of my book, I'm guessing, obviously appreciate freedom and flexibility. When you can have it, allows you to move around. And so there are
Mhm.
tax advantages to living in different states in the United States. The key there is just to remember it's not just about state income tax. You need to look at kind of your life situation and of course where you want to live too. But if you can align those things, you could work in it or you could live in a tax optimal state. And what I mean by that is, Texas, for example, doesn't have state income tax, but
Mhm.
they have really, really high real estate taxes because the state needs to get its money somehow. So if you're, owning property and looking to do that, well, maybe Texas isn't the right place for you. And that might be better in a different state that perhaps has state income tax, but a lower real estate tax. So it
Mhm.
obviously varies. You just have to look at your own particular situation.
Nebraska is another state that's very similar to that, which in my area, because 'cause we're so close to Nebraska, when I was a lender specifically, we heard that a lot, like
Also, out here in California, it's a big topic all the time. And so many people, when they retire or when they have more flexibility in their life, they go to Nevada. That's where you go. Yep. Or you can go
interesting.
up. Yep. You can go. Is it Washington? I think that doesn't have a state tax. Please check that. But they have actually an inheritance tax. So again,
Oh,
like you just really need to understand your state's taxes to make sure that you're
mhm.
optimizing where you are.
And I bet most of us don't look at that.
No, no, no. And also this is a luxury for people that have the option to move places too. So,
Mhm.
if you're kind of in a certain spot because you need to be by your family because you have kids that need to be taken care of, well, do that first. Focus on the
Right,
taxes
yeah.
taxes next. So here's the next one I have is another kind of practical one. And it's a spending principle number 5 is to protect against major loss. And should I even tell this story? Sure, what the heck? It's a weird story. We do all this work to optimize our life and build a good foundation and save and invest. And the key is you just don't want to be caught with some surprise event that
Mhm.
like takes it all down. So insurance is a good example, right? Like make sure that you're properly insured. And I'm not talking about, buying a policy for the TV that you bought at Best Buy, right? Because if that TV breaks, it's not going to, ruin your life. But if like the one biggest insurance I think that people under purchase is it's not actually life insurance because, it's long-term disability insurance. So a lot
Mhm.
of people are just a job loss away, or, if you no longer have the ability to work, that changes your lifestyle forever. Now,
Mhm.
with time freedom, we're trying to get to a point where we've got passive income and flexible income coming in from different sources. And so maybe that becomes less important. But as you're making that transition, it's our ability to work that you have to protect. And, so I have long-term disability insurance. If for some reason I suffered a major accident, it didn't kill me, and now I'm stuck hanging out, but not able to bring in income, that is allowed.
Mhm.
And then
That's a great point.
the other thing I just wanted to mention here is it's not just about insurance, and this is a topic for a future episode, which is your investments. So if you think about people that have grown their investment portfolio because they've been at it for 20 years and they've saved in their 401ks, your investment portfolio might be worth more than your house. Now, you can buy insurance on your house in case something happens there, but what do you do with this investment portfolio? Like it's as if people are just like, well, I just understand that it could drop by 35 or 50%. I'm going to go out on a limb, and you're not going to believe me, but there's ways to invest and things that you can do that can help protect against that downside
Mhm.
risk. That's a technical term, but to keep your going negative kind of limited, because you don't
Mhm.
want to, you want to control your losses. Here's the quick story. When I was in high school and I was a sophomore and we were learning US history, and my teacher was Gib Stobrel, and he just liked to tell stories himself, and he was always trying to keep people from going out, and I don't want you to go out drinking. He's like, "You know what? If I'm gonna just sign up. I'm gonna say, hey, I'm gonna take you guys drinking. If you want to jump into my van, I'll give you all the milk you can drink, and you can drink all the milk you want all night." And we kids thought that was just the dumbest thing in the world. But anyway, he had, just to give you an idea of Gib Stobrel as a teacher, Mr. Stobrel, but he taught us about the stock market crash and the Great Depression. And he had us like pretend to trade stocks, right? Knowing that
Mm.
on Black Tuesday, is that what
Tuesday.
it's called? Yeah.
Yeah,
Black
Black Tuesday.
Tuesday, it was going to crash. So we're like trading and trading, and and I'm like, oh, I'm going to outsmart this. And on Monday, I'm going to pull all my money out. But what he did is he crashed the market on Friday. He crashed it early, unexpected, and all of us lost all of our money. And he's like, see, that is what happened to those people on Black Tuesday. Right. And obviously I remember that story to this day. And so there are ways, and we'll talk about them in future episodes, to help protect yourself against that. And it's called, I'll
Mhm.
give you a hint, it's called fast follow investing, but I'll teach you about that in the future. So sorry, the whole jump in my van that did sound a little bit weird, but it was to go like party. This was the early 90s, right? So it was different back then.
I'm just, like, cracking up. Yeah.
Sorry.
Like the creeper van with the no
Yeah.
windows, "Come get some candy."
No, it was just one of those vans, like conversion vans, like, I
Oh,
don't know,
nice. Yeah.
the one that you drive to Disney World in, and have fun. Number 6 is, this is sounds boring, but it's about inflation. And, we hadn't had inflation for so long, and then we've had it, in 2022
Mhm.
is I think when it really took off. You know how it makes you feel. Everything is more expensive,
Mm.
right? And that's why, efforts from the federal government to push inflation down are so important, because when it's high, like, people rise up and revolt. The key message I want to share here is that the kind of the national, or whatever level of inflation that they report overall is not the same as your own personal inflation. So there are actually strategies that you can take, like, owning your home and having a fixed rate mortgage. You don't have to succumb to rises in rents. If you have a big garden and you can, use it for fruits and vegetables, you can, skip out on some of the grocery inflation. We could, again, talk forever about different strategies there, but just, keep in mind what your personal inflation rate is, because if your personal inflation rate is 5% and you're earning 4% in your savings account, you're actually losing money, even though you're earning 4%. You're losing it. You're earning a negative 1% of the real money that you can share. So, like, inflation
Mhm.
it directly you subtract it right off of any sort of investment rate that you get,
Mm.
right? That's the nice way to
Mhm.
think of it. So you want to get that inflation rate as low as possible. It's almost like guaranteed return in your
Mhm.
investments.
Yeah, that's one I've not ever thought about, actually.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes they say inflation's out of my control. It actually isn't. Like there are things that you can
Mhm.
do. It's harder for people starting out, right? You're renting, you're buying new furniture. You don't
Mhm.
have property to like, put solar panels on. You know,
Mhm.
and so there are some things you can do, some things you can't do, but it was easy to forget about when it was so low for so long. Kind of quote unquote, fortunately, we've had some recently, so people are at least aware of it.
Mhm. Yeah.
The number 7 spending principle is what I call recognize investments versus expenses. Sounds simple, but what I'm actually talking about is something that you spend money on could be just a pure expense, like take a car. Like, oh, I'm going to buy a nice
Mhm.
car. That seems like an expense. But what if you're a real estate agent just starting out and it actually makes a huge difference in how you can serve your clients and be perceived?
Mhm.
You could argue that could be viewed as an investment and might actually allow you to earn twice as much as that than you would if you were showing your clients around in an old beater car, right?
Mhm.
And so in a way you could say that spending money on that new car is good because it
Mhm.
could, you can reap rewards from it, earn a bunch of money from it.
Mhm.
So and there are other ways to think about this. I'm not just saying to like don't give yourself an excuse to say like, oh, I don't know. I'm trying to think of an example. Go buy a bunch of giant candy bars because it's an
Right.
investment. It's not. You can't just say it. Like it actually has to contribute to,
Right.
life.
Yeah.
Somewhat related is another one. Consider the full cost. This is again like to me, it's like, why didn't I think about this all the time? But like only semi recently, maybe in the last 5 or 7 years, have I really thought about the full cost of something. You go to the store and you see something for sale and you're like, oh, that's what it costs. I'm gonna buy it. And let me give you an example of one now. So Claire is recently, and I'm so excited for her. This is really cool. She is now a sailor, not like a dinghy sailor, but like she goes on watercraft that have a crew of 6 people on them. And she kicks herself because she didn't start doing this sooner. But a couple weeks ago, she went to a women's sailing seminar and it was a whole weekend event. We live on an island. We counted it up like 6 yacht clubs on our island, like within,
Wow.
5 minutes of our house. So this one yacht club put on this event and taught all these women how to be crew members and tie knots and how sails work. And so now she spent all weekend sailing. She goes out every Tuesday night and sails. But the beauty of it is these people that own these boats, they can't even sail them by themselves. They need 5 other
Mm.
people to work their boat. So now she's a sailor and she spent $125 to join the Island Yacht Club in Alameda. And now she can sail all she wants. If you were to buy a boat, of course, the boat is like the classic example of something that has bigger costs than just the cost of the boat. Like she's even said, like some
Yes.
of these new starter boats, they only cost $2,500. I'm like, is that really all they cost? Because think about all the stuff that you're
Mhm.
going to have to replace and,
Mhm.
keep it in the slip and all those sorts of things. But I'm just so excited that she's doing the sailing. It's really, really cool. But also, we're doing it like for no money. It's crazy.
Yeah. And like,
It's just crazy.
yeah, that's really cool. Oh, and I mean, there's other like that style of things,
Hmm.
and is in so many things. Like, you can even get like a private jet service. Like, I did not even know that was a thing, and I'm like, oh, that is way better than paying for a jet, then having to pay for a flight or a pilot. I mean, they are millions of dollars, and then you could just join this thing for, you know,
My friend Karen and her husband used to own a fractional ownership of a boat that was up in the Pacific Northwest, and they would
that's
have
so
to
cool.
organize when you could take it out and stuff. But then they could sell it off. And so I guess they were purchasing it, but like all of the services around supporting that boat were included. Yeah,
Part of
there's a
it.
lot more
It's so
unique
cool.
ways to do things these days. Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, Awesome. Well,
Uh,
we're moving along on time, so let me keep going here. The next one, this is an interesting one. When you're looking for full cost, beware of hidden fees. And the example that I share is investing fees. This takes a little bit of explanation, but did we talk about the rule of 72 on here before? We may
I
not
don't think
have.
so.
This
I
is
know we talk about it more in a later episode, though, I
okay.
think.
Well, just very quickly. The rule of 72 is a really easy way to understand an investment return. Okay. So think about this. You want to determine how long it takes to double your money. That's a really easy thing to understand, right? So if you're like, if I have an investment return of 10%, how long is it going to take me to double my money? It's hard to tell. There's a rule, the rule of 72. You basically take 72 and you divide it by the number of the investment return. 72 divided by 10%, or just the number 10, 7.2 years, approximately. You can double your money in 7.2 years, right? So if 9% return is 8 years, 8% return is 9 years. So that's the trick. But it also works in like not just to double your money, but what is the cost? If you have 2% investment return cost, right? So you pay 2% for your investments, because you spend 1% for an advisor and another 1% on fees. That 2% means 72 divided by 2 is what? 36. Every 36 years, you could have doubled your money. So if you
Mm.
invest at a 2% expense rate for 36 years and you end up with $1.5 million, you're going to be like, yeah, $1.5 million. That's a lot of money. But if it
Mhm.
wasn't 2% expense, that $1.5 million could have been $3 million. Okay, so a
Mm.
2% investment expense cost you $1.5 million. Okay, now I know that there's a lot to absorb here. Let me just trust me on this one. Definitely check out the book for a much more detailed explanation about this thing. But the key message is understand what expenses are in the funds that you,
Mhm.
right, are doing. Because if you choose to do it yourself with Vanguard funds, you can play a 0.1% versus 2%. You can like save all that in. It sounds like such a small number, but when you look at it over that 36 years, it's a huge, huge difference. It's a huge, huge difference.
I think that that was the biggest eye opener for me is when we looked at our calculator and like looked at my investments. I'm like, yeah, they're doing really well. And then when we looked at one, just even one specific of
Yeah.
the things I was invested in, it was like 5% or something crazy. Like it was so
Whoa.
high.
Yes.
So,
That completely eats into remember how I said inflation eats into your return? So like, let's say you were
mhm,
earning 10% and there was 3% inflation, that's down to 7% and 5% expenses on that. You're really only earning 2%.
yeah, nothing. Okay, so what's the last one here?
The last one, thanks, in the interest of time. This is an interesting one that you only observe when it happens. And so if you're not there yet, you may be like, yeah, I can't even see how this happens. But when it happened to me, it was like this huge aha. And I never dawned on me before. But if you're lucky enough to reach this point, you're going to love it. And the line is save more early and invest well later. So the biggest way that you can make progress in your savings and investing when you're young and you don't have a lot of money already invested is to increase your savings rate, right? So let me give you an example that you have $100,000 saved. Excellent, right? But you can either save $25,000 in the year, growing it to 125,000, or you can earn 5% on that 100,000. 5% on that 100,000 is $5,000, right? So you're
Mhm.
getting more bang for your buck by focusing on saving $25,000 versus $5,000. Now, what if you are further along in your journey and you have $1 million saved up? How does that work out then? You could either save $25,000, or if you earned 5% on $1 million, that's $50,000. So investing well is important the bigger your portfolio number is, because it's going to dwarf how much you can save. So there is this point, it's like, I call it like the saver to investor switchover, where all of a sudden, like, what you're saving is about what you're earning. And then all of a sudden, it's way more important to invest better. Now, the beauty of this is it gives you more time to learn how to invest better. So when you're starting out, focus on saving, cut your expenses, grow your income, save more. Put it in a savings account while you're learning. It's okay. You're not going to earn that much more on a small amount. But once you get a large amount saved, then it becomes more and more important to earn as safely as possible a higher return, because you're going to earn so much more on your money. So that's my 10th and final tip. So a whole bunch of them there.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was writing them down earlier, so I'll just kinda run over them real fast
Thank
for
you.
the top 10. So we had number 1 was your money habits.
How your money impacts your happiness. Yes.
Yes, money, yeah. And then number 2 was value experiences versus material things.
Yep.
Number 3 is spend in step with your stage of life.
Yep.
Number 4, maximize your tax savings. 5, protect yourself against losses. 6, your personal inflation.
Yep.
7, investments versus expenses. 8, the full cost of doing activities. 9, investment fees, and pay attention to the hidden fees. And then number 10 is save more earlier to invest well later.
Awesome. Thanks. This is maybe a little bit longer than our normal podcast, but it's okay. Thank you so much for joining us. We can't wait to see you next time. In the meantime, here's what you can do. Go to timefreedom.life and sign up and become an insider and get a whole bunch of goodies. And then also give us, an honest review. We're trying to increase our Spotify listens so that we can be searchable on Spotify. So search my name, Brian Harriet, on Spotify, find it, and give us a rating so that our podcast becomes more displayed. And also we're on YouTube, so like and subscribe.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Thank you.